The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Where then do I look for good and evil? Not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself to the choices that are my own. I am Epictetus, a Greek Stoic philosopher. I was born in 50 AD into slavery at Hierapolis, Phrygia, present-day Pamukkale in western Turkey, and I lived in Rome until my banishment to Nicopolis in northwestern Greece by the Roman Emperor Domitian in 89 AD. I spent the rest of my life in Nicopolis until my death in 135 AD at the age of 85.
As Epictetus said, they can control the choices they make right now. The same is true for us today. If we can focus on making clear what parts of our day are within our control and what parts are not, we will not only be happier, we will have a distinct advantage over other people who fail to realize they are fighting an unwinnable battle. This passage emphasizes a key Stoic principle: distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. The single most important practice in Stoic philosophy is differentiating between what we can change and what we can't. What we have influence over and what we do not. A flight is delayed because of weather. No amount of yelling at an airline representative will end a storm. No amount of wishing will make you taller or shorter or born in a different country. No matter how hard you try, you can't make someone like you. And on top of that, time spent hurling yourself at these immovable objects is time not spent on the things we can change. The recovery community practices something called the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We cannot change the past. We cannot undo the choices we have made or the hurt we may have caused to others. But they can change the future, through the power they have in the present moment. Epictetus teaches that good and evil stem not from external circumstances but from our own choices. Real-life examples, such as weather delays or personal attributes, illustrate that energy spent fighting uncontrollable factors is wasted. The serenity prayer, used in recovery communities, reinforces this wisdom. Accept what you can't change, have courage to change what you can, and seek the wisdom to know the difference. By focusing on what we can control, we improve our happiness and gain a powerful advantage in life. The art of discernment. Understanding what we can and cannot control in a world characterized by constant uncertainty and change. The ancient Stoic philosophy offers timeless wisdom that remains remarkably relevant today. At the heart of Stoicism lies a fundamental principle: the crucial distinction between what we can control and what we cannot. As Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, articulated in his discourses, the chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. This essay explores this core Stoic principle, examining its practical applications in modern life through real-world examples, and demonstrating how this ancient wisdom can lead to greater serenity, effectiveness, and fulfillment in our daily existence. The dichotomy of control. Understanding the principle, the Stoic dichotomy of control divides all aspects of life into two distinct categories. 1. Things within our control. Our judgments, attitudes, desires, aversions, and actions. Essentially, our internal responses to the world. 2. Things outside our control. External events, other people's actions, natural phenomena, outcomes, and circumstances beyond our influence. The Stoics argued that true freedom and tranquility come from focusing our energy on what lies within our control while accepting with equanimity what does not. This is not mere passive resignation but rather a strategic reallocation of our finite resources, our attention, energy, and effort, toward areas where they can be most effective. The professional realm. Navigating career setbacks and opportunities. Consider Sarah, a marketing executive who spent months preparing a major campaign proposal, only to have it rejected by upper management due to budget constraints. Initially devastated, she found herself ruminating on the rejection, questioning her abilities, and feeling resentful toward the decision-makers. Through studying Stoic principles, Sarah realized she was expending precious mental and emotional energy on elements beyond her control, the company's financial priorities, her superiors' decisions, and economic factors influencing the budget. Instead, she redirected her focus to what remained within her control, refining her proposal to accommodate budget limitations, using the feedback to strengthen future pitches, maintaining her professional relationships despite disappointment, and choosing her attitude toward the situation. By shifting her attention to these controllable elements, Sarah not only preserved her well-being but also demonstrated adaptability that eventually led to approval of a modified version of her campaign. The setback, viewed through the Stoic lens, became an opportunity for growth rather than a source of suffering. Health challenges. Finding agency amid adversity. Few scenarios test our understanding of control more profoundly than health crises. John, diagnosed with a chronic illness at age 40, initially experienced anger, denial, and despair, natural responses to such life-altering news. The diagnosis itself, the biological progression of his condition, and the inherent limitations it imposed were entirely outside his control. However, John discovered significant agency in how he responded to his new reality. He could control his treatment adherence, lifestyle modifications to manage symptoms, pursuit of knowledge about his condition, cultivation of a support network, and most importantly, his perspective on living with illness. By focusing intently on these controllable factors, John didn't merely cope with his condition, he developed a rich, purposeful life alongside it. As he later explained, "My illness dictates certain limitations, but it doesn't determine how I live within those limitations. That choice remains mine." Relationship dynamics. Influence without control. Relationships vividly illustrate the boundaries of control. Consider parents watching their adult children make life choices they believe are misguided. Maria and Robert were deeply concerned when their daughter decided to abandon a stable career path to pursue creative work with uncertain prospects. Their initial attempts to control her decision, through persuasion, implied appointment, and even subtle manipulation, created tension without changing her resolve. Gradually, they recognized the futility of attempting to dictate another person's choices, even someone they deeply loved. By shifting their focus to what they could control, expressing their concerns respectfully once, offering support without judgment, maintaining an open relationship regardless of disagreement, and managing their own anxiety about her future, they preserved both their relationship and their peace of mind. They came to understand that influence operates through example and support, not control. Their daughter, free from the pressure of their expectations, made her career transition more thoughtfully, knowing she could seek their guidance without fear of condemnation. This illustrates the paradoxical truth that relinquishing attempts to control others often increases our positive influence in their lives. Economic uncertainty. Responding to financial challenges. When global economic turbulence affected James's small business, threatening his financial security, he experienced intense anxiety focusing on factors he couldn't influence: market fluctuations, consumer confidence levels, and governmental economic policies. His stress was paralyzing until he systematically identified what remained within his sphere of control. James couldn't control the economy, but he could adapt his business model to changing conditions. He couldn't determine customer spending patterns, but he could improve his service quality and value proposition. He couldn't predict future market developments, but he could build financial resilience through prudent planning and diversification. By concentrating his efforts on these controllable elements, James not only weathered the economic downturn but emerged with a more adaptable business model. His application of Stoic principles transformed potential disaster into strategic innovation. Natural disasters and emergencies. Preparation over prediction. When Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico in 2017, residents faced a catastrophic event entirely outside human control. However, the aftermath revealed stark differences in how individuals and communities responded to the same uncontrollable circumstance. Those who had previously focused on controllable factors, maintaining emergency supplies, developing community support networks, creating contingency plans, and cultivating personal resilience, fared significantly better than those caught unprepared. Moreover, during the prolonged recovery, those who directed their energy toward constructive action rather than complaint about inadequate external assistance demonstrated the practical power of the Stoic approach. As one community leader observed, we couldn't control the hurricane or the pace of official relief, but we could control our response to adversity and our commitment to helping each other. Social media and information. Managing our attention. Few modern developments challenge our sense of control more than the constant stream of information and opinion through digital channels. Maya, a politically engaged citizen, found herself increasingly anxious and angry about world events as she consumed news and commentary continuously throughout the day. She realized she couldn't control geopolitical developments, political decisions, or other people's opinions, yet was allowing these uncontrollables to dominate her mental landscape. Applying Stoic principles, Maya reclaimed her attention by establishing boundaries around media consumption, curating information sources for quality rather than emotional intensity, distinguishing between staying informed and obsessing over news, and focusing on civic actions within her control. The result wasn't disengagement but rather more effective engagement. By directing her finite attention and energy toward constructive actions within her influence, local volunteering, thoughtful voting, respectful discourse in her immediate community, Maya found both greater impact and greater peace. Personal development. The ultimate controllable, perhaps the most powerful application of Stoic control principles, lies in personal development. While external achievements and recognition depend partly on uncontrollable factors, the development of character, skills, and wisdom remains entirely within our control. Consider Alex, who faced repeated professional setbacks despite talent and effort. Rather than becoming bitter about factors beyond his control, office politics, economic conditions, others receiving opportunities he felt he deserved, he focused relentlessly on what he could control, expanding his skills, deepening his knowledge, strengthening his work ethic, and refining his character. Over time, this internal focus paradoxically led to external success, as his exceptional development eventually became impossible to overlook. More importantly, it created fulfillment independent of external validation, as he took pride in the person he was becoming regardless of how others perceived him. The practical implementation. Modern applications of an ancient framework. How can we apply this Stoic principle in our daily lives? The process involves 3 key practices. 1. Conscious differentiation. Regularly pausing to identify which aspects of a challenging situation fall under our control and which do not. This simple act of categorization immediately reduces anxiety by clarifying where to direct our energy. 2. Focused attention. Deliberately redirecting our mental and emotional resources from uncontrollable externals to controllable choices. This isn't a one-time decision but an ongoing practice of attention management. 3. Value reorientation. Gradually shifting our sense of success from external outcomes to internal choices. Rather than measuring our worth by results, which are partly beyond our control, we learn to value the quality of our decisions and efforts, which are entirely within our control. These practices don't deny the importance of external conditions. Stoicism isn't about indifference to outcomes but rather effectiveness in pursuing them through focus on what we can influence. Finding wisdom in discernment. The serenity prayer, popularized in recovery communities, elegantly captures the essence of Stoic control philosophy. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This wisdom, the ability to discern between what we can and cannot control, may be life's most valuable skill. It prevents us from exhausting ourselves in futile struggles against immovable realities while empowering us to exercise our genuine agency to its fullest extent. In a world increasingly characterized by complexity, uncertainty, and interdependence, the ancient Stoic insight about control offers not just philosophical comfort but practical guidance for effective living. By focusing our finite resources on what truly lies within our power, our judgments, choices, actions, and attitudes, we reclaim our agency from the chaos of externals and discover that our inner freedom remains intact regardless of outer circumstances. The Stoics understood that true power lies not in controlling the world but in controlling our response to it. In this profound insight lies the secret to both effectiveness and tranquility in an unpredictable world.